Ilirian Ahmeti Trio është një treshe muzikantësh nga vendet të ndryshme të botës që i bashkon pasioni për muzikën jazz. Ilirian Ahmeti është një artist nga Kosova dhe Austria, Jakub Turac vjen nga Slovakia dhe Earl Joshua Frost Izumi nga Japonia. Në mini turneun e tyre, sigurisht ata kanë zgjedhur që të vizitojnë edhe Kosovën kështu për të performuar në disa lokale të ndryshme në qytetin e Prishtinës, por edhe në Gjilan. Ne kemi kënaqësinë që këtë treshe ta presim në studion e Ekspresit. Welcome to Kosovo, first of all, for you too.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you here in our studio.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to be here.
You have chosen to perform as a trio in various locations across Kosovo. How has our audience received you so far?
Very good. It was very energetic, and as a jazz artist especially, we need that energy from the audience. And it's not my first time performing in Kosovo. I've performed here many times, but each time, I get the right amount of energy from the audience to put back into the music.
Of course. Jakub, can you tell us about your impressions?
Yeah, sure.
How did the audience receive?
For me, I'm first time in Kosovo, and as a jazz musician, I like when audience is live, and I can see that they enjoy it. They give us back the energy, like Ilirian said, and yeah, I can definitely say that here it's like it should be.
And for you, Earl Joshua?
It is also my first time performing in Kosovo, and I have to say I very much enjoyed it. The audience is very participatory, and they were enjoying our music very much. And I mean, in Vienna, people also like jazz music and they listen to us, but the energy is always different in each country, and I enjoyed the uniqueness of Kosovo audience.
I'm glad for this, and it's my understanding this is the first time performing as a trio in Kosovo. Can you tell us about the idea? How did you decide to make a mini tour, let's say, here?
Well, as I said before, I've played many times in Kosovo in different festivals with different musicians here. And I've always been a sideman, so I support, I'm in someone's band, and I wanted to have my own project. Mm-hmm. And since I've played with Jakub and Earl in Slovakia and in Vienna a lot, and we've really, tried to shape our sound as a trio, I thought it would be perfect to bring them here and, to have the Kosovo experience and play in these various clubs.
I suppose it was excited for you too when
of course.
You talked about the
it was unnatural to me to come so far and play a jazz in so far from home. So I'm super excited.
I hope it's going to be just the first from many times you're
It will be, yeah, hopefully.
Of course. So now it's a question maybe more about Ilirian. How do you evaluate the jazz music scene in Kosovo, since you said it before you performed here many times?
It's a spectacular scene. I love every musician here, and I feel like in each country that I play in, everybody has something to give, and the musicians here really are super unique, and when you listen to them, you feel that. And as I said, I've played here many times before, and I feel that Kosovo really also shaped my sound, because my first couple of professional gigs, where it was real gigs, were actually in Kosovo. So I have a lot of respect for all of the musicians here.
And you have maybe also created kind of a perception that's the same as Ilirian.
Yeah, it was. Especially, all of us are in the same university, Musik und Kunst Privat Universität Wien. It's like a private conservatory in Vienna. And he's one of the first guy I played with, a Kosovo musician, and he definitely stands out as a pianist out of all our university pianists, and it's very much a pleasure to play with him.
Well, I'm glad for that. And how, to start, maybe you can tell us about your introduction to jazz music? Maybe we can start again with you.
I started like playing music in general like 6 or 7 years ago, and I initially only started playing pop and especially Japanese pop music since I grew up in Japan till I was 12 years old. And the introduction to jazz was actually very much this Japanese pop music that had lots of jazz element, and also my will to get more free into my expression, explore more deeper concepts and interplay with other musicians. I think that was the introduction for me into jazz music.
Of course. But about you?
So my journey from the beginning is like I started playing music in general when I was, I think, 8 years.
Very young age.
Yeah, and I started on the folk Slovak instrument called heligonka. It's like the folk accordion, something like that. And there was one music camp in Slovakia, and I was like supposed to play the heligonka there, but my mom, like 1 week before camp, told me that there are drums she asked me if I just don't want to try it. And I tried it, and after camp in the summer, from September, I started to visit the music school. Then I was studying in conservatory in Slovakia, classical percussion, so it was more the classical stuff, not the jazz, but actually my teacher, Peter Solarik, he's also a jazz player, famous jazz drummer in Slovakia, and he gave me a lot of things to do, and I started to like jazz, I started to listen jazz, and then I tried to improve it and tried to study somewhere else, because actually in Slovakia we don't have much possibilities to study jazz there. So I'm glad I can be here with the guys in Vienna and studying with them.
How about you, Lilian?
Yeah, so I started playing piano when I was 5, and I feel like, well, first I started with classical music, of course, you know, and this was in Canada when I used to live there. My father instilled it in me, you know, nudged me to play piano. And I remember one of my first memories of listening to jazz, and one of my first memories in general, is my father showing me a video of Oscar Peterson playing piano. It was one trio, and I remember, you know, just listening to that, and the pure emotion from that video was like amazing. I never knew that the piano could sound like that. You know, even at that young age, I was amazed at what was happening. And you know, as the years went by, and I kind of grew bored of classical music, and I wanted something more like experimental, or something where I could put more of my own things in, and you know, I naturally gravitated towards jazz. And in my early teens, I played a lot with my dad, who is also a jazz guitarist, on the side, you know. And then I started studying in university with Danny Grissett, an American piano player. And then I went to MOOC and found these guys, and we started playing and making music together.
Of course, but have you always been oriented towards music, or is it?
Yeah, well, I started in high school. I studied math, and I studied music for my matura, and I honestly don't know how it happened, really, but I just started studying music, and I wanted to do something more with music, and I really find a joy playing music and putting my story into what I play.
That's interesting. But as an artist, you represent two different cultures, Albanian and Portuguese. Your father is an architect originally from Kosovo, while your mother is a scientist of Portuguese origin. Have these cultures influenced your professional development?
I mean, In a sense, yes. I feel like in Kosovo it was more, it had more of an impact on my playing since my first couple of gigs were here. I played with musicians from Kosovo, you know, Sheki Hoxha, Arjan Randobrava, Tomar Shkoza. These were the main guys that I was playing with. And I feel like when you play many gigs with people, you know, they really have an influence on you and the direction you take. And you know, I have to give credit where credit is due, and I feel like I really got a lot from the jazz scene in Kosovo.
Of course, but you also come from different cultures. I suppose that your traditions have also impacted your development as an artist.
Yeah, as I said, like I started with the folk instrument, the heligonka, and actually our Slovak folk music is pretty far away from jazz. So for jazz music, I cannot say that it had some influence, but nowadays with the modern jazz, a lot of musicians and also I sometimes try to implement the folk music into jazz, so just make, for example, some jazz arrangement of the folk music, and actually that's quite nice to do that. And for me it's also like that I can somehow, I'm not playing folk music, but I can implement my home country to the things I play on the concert. So.
Very interesting. How about you?
For me also definitely. I mean, I only started playing music after I moved to Austria, and before that I was never really that music person. But I think the music I touched in Japan, the culture, and also the language that I think, since it's like a very different language from German, English, Slovak, Albanian, and I think that influenced the phrasing and like the melody I have in my head, and in that sense I think it definitely has an impact on my music.
Of course, but Ilirian, since your father, his origin is from Kosovo, can you tell us maybe what emotions do you feel whenever you perform in front of a Kosovo audience?
I mean, I feel proud and I feel very happy that, you know, I'm playing for my own people, and I really feel at home here. And whenever I'm here, I also feel very welcomed, you know. So it's a great feeling when I play here and I show that, you know, I'm from Kosovo and I'm playing jazz and I'm making music, and it's a great feeling.
We really are a very small country, but do you feel that we know and we appreciate jazz genre?
Oh, definitely, yeah, 100%.
We feel that way, but I want to know your opinion.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I mean, if you listen to the musicians here, it's really crazy, and it's great, and yeah.
But how much has your Albanian tradition maybe contributed to making you unique, maybe a bit unique in the world of jazz?
I mean, as Earl also said, you know, about music in general, when you listen to something for a long time, it sticks in your head, and it comes out in ways you didn't expect. My father, when I was young, was playing lots of Albanian traditional music, especially from Gjakova area. And we would even play gigs where we just played Albanian traditional music. And I feel like, you know, when I have that under my fingers, and when I have that in my ear, where I hear it so many times, it comes out in different ways that you wouldn't expect it.
Mm-hmm. But can you tell us now about the creation of Ilirian Ahmeti Trio? How did you meet the band members, and what connects you as a trio?
Well, I feel like we all give equal input. You know, we arrange gigs for each other. So Jakub has arranged many gigs for us in Slovakia with projects under his name. I've arranged here in Kosovo with projects under my name. So yeah, we met in Musik und Kunst Privatuniversität in Vienna. And you know, it was just, we were in practice rooms practicing, and we were like, you know, you want to jam, you want to play together, and ever since then we've been really focusing on shaping our own trio sound, and not to sound as just three different musicians, but to sound as really one voice. And I feel like that's our main goal when we play. But yeah, formation-wise, you know, it's an ongoing process. We still have many gigs to go, many future gigs to go, and yeah.
I feel like you have also developed a very good friendship.
Yeah,
Definitely, definitely.
We have to. I think we have to say that it was, I think, probably second day of our studies. We just went to the rehearsal room, and for me especially, because I had my trio before with the Slovak guys from different university before, and since I went to Vienna and I'm living there, I wanted to find like new people to play with, and like this was 100% side to me that yeah, these guys will just play with me for a long time. So
That's good.
I had a very special connection with both of these amazing musicians. First with Illyrian, actually my first ever time of going to jam session in Vienna. It was in Zwe, it's a jazz cafe in Vienna, and it was my very much first time playing there. Very nervous, and I didn't play jazz that much. I was maybe like half year into it, and the first tune we played, actually it was him on piano, and after 2 years of break, not seeing each other basically, and I saw him getting into Moog, and it was very exciting to see him again, and I think there was already some special connection. And with Jakub, I had the pleasure to play as a sideman for entrance exam for our university, and we would sit there and wait for the drummers to come in and play with us. And he was, of course, one of them. And I remember his very energetic playing, and I knew immediately, like, okay, he's gonna be the next one who's gonna be
The drummer is always the cool guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a pleasure to see him on half year later in Moog, and it was nice, and I think it was called actually already before that this trio gonna form eventually.
Yeah.
But did you find that maybe you found something familiar even in your cultures? It's far away, Japan with Kosovo, but in the family side, I think you can find something in common, and also Slovakia with Kosovo. Maybe that helped too?
I mean, yeah, for friendship-wise, I mean, it was just natural. Yeah, we better understood each other, and it was just a very natural process. On the musical side, I feel jazz in general is a very universal language.
So true.
And you know, everybody has their own thing to give, each culture, and I think that benefits our sound. Since we're multicultural, we're a multicultural trio. You know, we have more input to give and to better shape the music.
Of course. Now you all live in Austria, and I believe you are quite active there in the jazz music scene, performing at various events. Am I right?
Yeah, as a trio, we've performed a couple times in Vienna. We perform more in Slovakia as of now, but yeah, it's about it.
But you are open to different invitations, maybe to perform all around Europe.
Of course.
That's your main target, maybe.
Yeah.
As a trio, of
Definitely.
course. But have you ever had the chance, maybe, to share the stage with an idol from the jazz world? Maybe it happened. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, I think it was actually our first gig in Slovakia.
Yeah, it was our first gig in Slovakia.
Not with the Earl, just with the Illyrian on piano, and it was, I think, one of the famous saxophone player from Slovakia. His His name is Radovan Tariška, and he's known in whole Europe like a super talented and super great player. And we played in Orava, in the region of the Slovakia, for a festival, and it was supposed to be like different band. It was just my trio, like Jakub Turac trio, featuring Radovan Tariška, and I think it was 2 weeks before that I just decided to take Illyrian as a pianist, and actually that was our first experience with the like super famous guy. And then we had also in the same project, but with the Earl on the bass in December, we played the kind of the same gig, and actually he's famous because his project we played is more into the folk music. So we did like folk music, and we tried to play it like in jazz way.
Yeah.
That's a very good and interesting experience, I believe. Okay, we are coming towards the end of the interview. Maybe you can tell us, how do you describe jazz music, each one of you? It is, of course, a way of life for you, but it's based on improvisation, but at its core, it has strict rules, as we know it, about this genre.
Yeah, jazz in general it has rules. It's like a language, you know. You have the vocabulary, you have the certain rules of the language, how you say things. But in the end of the day, when you hear someone's voice, maybe someone you know, you can recognize that person's voice, and that's the whole point of jazz, to really create your own character, create your own musical voice that's recognizable. And that you are satisfied with yourself. In essence, you know, when playing jazz music, you really want to say something, and you want to show something. And with every note you play, for me at least, I try to put my own life story into every single note and try to make those notes sing. So that's my thought on jazz music.
Yeah, for me, like I love jazz because. There is not much genres you can just improvise and be, I mean, like honest and say what you feel, because the jazz is improvised, open music, and you can just, every time you play, for example, one song, each time it's super different, and it depends on the audience, on the mood, on the weather. I don't know, it's always like different, and that's what I love about it, that it's never the same. Comparing, for example, I play also in some pop bands, and there are rules, and if you play something different, it can ruin everything. And here is like, I play something different, and the guys always like go with me, and yeah, we react to each other and listen, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Of course, El?
For me, jazz music is more about human connection. It's more about who you play with. I mean, of course, you have great player, not so great player, but what I realized about my playing is that once I don't feel comfortable in a band, or like maybe I don't know the person that well, or like maybe there's some difficult situation between two musicians, it generally affects the music very much, and it shows like since he said like jazz music is a very honest music, it shows your emotion, and if you don't feel comfortable in the constellation, it's gonna show into your music, into your playing. And that's why I think jazz music is very social. I played with many players who might be not the greatest, but I had such amazing performance with them because we are friends, we know each other a lot.
You have a good chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, like, they're all great players, they're all great friends of mine, and that makes our music great, I think.
Of course. I also find it that jazz as a genre, it's good because it always inspires.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's what keeps you like coming back to that kind of music.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I hope you had a great time here in Kosovo, and I hope you will come back again.
We definitely will.
You're gonna come back, of course. I'm sure of it. So thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you here in KTV, and you are always welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Pleasure
much.
for us
It was a
too.
pleasure.
Miq të dashur, ne I kemi dhënë fund bisedës me të ftuarit tanë, kurse tutje do të vazhdojmë me rrjedhën e emisionit. Vazhdoni që ndrojmë me ne.